So I went down the road to one of his events, had 70,000 people. I mean, it's similar to your event, but it had fireworks, it had, gold Rolls Royces and,
That
rappers and
sounds
everything else.
very similar
It
so
was
far.
very similar, I've heard. So,
Hey everybody, it's John Lamberton here alongside my good friend and business partner, Mr. Jason Brockman. We are here for another episode of the Ambitious Lifestyle Business Podcast, where as always, it is our job to help you get more customers and make more money without just working harder. So without further ado, let's dive straight into this month's episode.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Ambitious Lifestyle Business Podcast. Once again, we are joined by an ambitious lifestyle business owner. Nathan Pascoe is the CEO of BeachVillas.com. Nathan is a travel enthusiast and experienced entrepreneur. He founded BeachVillas during a university gap, exploring the Greek islands about 20 years ago. And over those 20 years, Nathan has grown BeachVillas into a thriving company with 25 employees, very much with an emphasis on hard work and fun. Welcome to the podcast, Nathan.
thank you very much. Thank you.
Emphasis on hard work and fun. I think we are very much going to lean into the hard work today. This is the Ambitious Lifestyle Business Podcast. And I believe you are probably the most ambitious lifestyle business owner that we will have met on this podcast. That's my little challenge to lay down for you today. I'm just going to start because you sent over, as part of your prep, your 90-day plan, which regular listeners to the podcast will know. All of our 1%ers work in 90-day chunks, but you also sent over your 120-year plan.
Absolutely.
And one of your plans, I can't remember which one it was now, it's probably a 90-day plan knowing you, just had the word Everest ? On it, which to me very much sums up your attitude to life in general. So can you just talk us a little bit through your thinking in regards to the 120-year plan, the 90-day plan?
Well, first of all, it used to be the 100-year plan, and I carry this in my journal so that I quickly go through it every morning. Just 2-3 minutes just going through it. But it's my sort of North Star. It's my guiding. Every decision I make is always influenced by this. But it used to be the 100-year plan. And I've got you, John, to thank for extending it to the 120-year, because you advised me to buy a book, which was this one over here, which will be back. Oh, is it the right way around to you? I don't know if the text
It is,
goes
yeah.
the wrong
That's
way around.
Jason Vale's Kick the Drink Easily.
That is the one. Basically, I used to run a restaurant before I started my travel business. I used to work 20 hours a day, like most people when they start being an entrepreneur. And alcohol was a problem just by traveling so much. I used to live on a plane. And the first year that I started with a 1% club, I had a chat with you and you recommended that book and it was brilliant. And I gave up and I haven't been drinking since. So I just feel amazing. And so I decided to add an extra 20 years to my 100-year planner. So all thanks to you, John.
There you go. Yeah, that gives you another 20 years to compound those gains. And of course, it's you're adding it to the end. So it's going to compound the snowball even more, isn't it?
Yep. I think Warren Buffett said something. I know you like Warren Buffett quotes. Something about my game plan is to outlive everyone else.
Yeah.
So that's the principle there. Extend your years by 120. But on this point, I mean, I don't share this with many people. They look at you a bit odd when you say, "Oh yes, I carry around my 120-year planner." But it's surprising how many people go through life without any direction, anything to guide them. I mean, it's exactly like jumping in the car and saying, "Right, where are we going?"
Yeah.
That's how most people run their life. And the problem is you're going along a road, you've got two roads. I think it was Alice in Wonderland, wasn't it? The Mad Hatter said something like, which way do you want to go? And Alice said, "I don't know." And he said, "Well, it doesn't matter. And unfortunately, that's how most people approach their lives. They don't have anything to guide them. Therefore, when they make a decision, it doesn't really matter because they haven't got a plan anyway.
Yeah.
So that's why I do this 120-year planner. And I think it's important because I do reflect on it daily. I do add things like Everest. As you know, I do climbing. I started 2-3 years ago hiking, and then that got into mountain climbing and rock climbing, that sort of thing. And last year I did Himalayas. I did a 6,200 meter peak in the Himalayas. I came back last month from Mount Ararat after a week in Turkey working. Quickly skipped to Mount Ararat, climbed that. That's about 5,000 meters. And it's a great hobby, healthy hobby, and something that can really, get away from everything up into the mountains. I absolutely love it. And so, yes, I did write Everest a few months ago on my 120-year planner, as that's an achievement that I want to accomplish.
I think knowing you as well, I think you will accomplish that. I've no doubt whatsoever, because you are driven and you do set your goals and you go after them. And one of the things that I think resonated with me, and Jason, you will probably know more about this, because your job is to hold people accountable within the 1% Club. And what we do with most people within the club is we say to them, right, go make your 90-day plan and choose 3 things that you're going to do in these 90 days, and then we'll hold you accountable to them. And if we then speak to those people, I don't know, what do you reckon, Jason, like 4 weeks later, and say, what are your big 3? They go, it was something about, was it my website? Oh, and they ask you what the big 3 was, whereas Nathan, your 90-day plan has about 90 things on it, and you've already told us the secret to this. You review it every single day. You review it morning and night. So actually that 90-day plan is front of mind for you all the time. And you're constantly reevaluating where you are and what you can do to make progress towards those goals. Is that, Jason, I'm going to bring you in here, because otherwise it's going to turn into another monologue for me. Does Nathan need any accountability from you, or are you just constantly trying to rein him in?
No, I don't think reining in. I think we have some great discussions, to be honest. It's less about accountability and more about just exploring the future and what that can hold. I think, is that fair to say, Nathan? We have a look at these things, don't we?
It is. I'm very much focused on future self. I say in the office here, just to give you a bit of background, I have a travel company. During my backpacking years, traveled Greece, ended up running a restaurant. 20 years ago, started a travel company, villa rental company. I've got the office here. We've got 20 staff in the office here. And I say to the team here, my daily focus is future. What's happening today was already decided months ago. The team here are dealing, if it's a client on arrival or that sort of thing, they're dealing on the daily reaction stuff. But I'm already dealing only in next year. I'm focusing on how we're expanding the business strategy. Everything I do is only focused on future. So for my personal side, and as you've seen my 3-month planner, I have 3 main areas which really revolve around health, family, and my personal side. Then there's the business investments, financial side. So I've got those two main things broken into the 6 segments. But I try to pick my 3, what I call my main fish, my 3 big fish, which you've seen on the chart there. And I think 3 is plenty. I have it, but I write it down. So many people, as you've touched on, John, just now, they have a rough, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. But when people say that, that's a wish. When you write it down, that starts to become something, but that's not enough. It's writing it down, reviewing it daily, and more importantly, breaking it down and finding the steps and following the steps. So for me, that's why I like to write things down. I like to have it very graphical. I use Lucid charts with a little post-it thing, and I just move them around. So I'm only focusing on those top three things. And I've got a couple of minor things, like my weight there, 76 kilos, and a couple of things, daily running, that sort of thing. So as I accomplish things, I then move them into the completed one. And some of the other things, I'm not going to quite do this month, so I just put them on the back burner there, leave them ready for the next time. But I'm quite religious on this. Every month, not only do I reprint my 90-day one, because it's always slightly updated, but reviewing it daily, having it written down, and working out, right, today I'm going to accomplish the task. For example, the number one there was open an office in Cyprus. I came back last week. That's all open. That's all running. I've already finished my top three big fish for this 90 days, even though we're only halfway through June. So I'm ahead of schedule, but it's writing it down. I can't emphasize that enough, how writing things down is so important. Having a journal. I carry my journal everywhere. I have just a box standard diary journal, and I just write in it all day. I like pens. One of my passions is pens. Every time I go away, my wife's always saying, "Oh, you bought another pen from the airport." I buy these Mont Blanc pens, which I love. They're hideously expensive, but I just so enjoy writing with them. It's worth it. But writing down, I take my notebook everywhere. If I go to the doctor's surgery, I've got my diary with me. I write things down. I'm amazed how many people don't. And having it printed, having it written by hand, not digital, to me makes a massive difference. There's that thing between the connection between the brain thinking of something and then taking a pen and actually writing it, not typing it. I think it reinforces in your brain. You remember it so much more, not typing it into into an app or something like that. So I live by my 90-day planner. That is my guiding star. That is my, as you were saying, Jason doesn't need to check up on me. He helps me focus my 90-day planner, and then I go off and do it.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions, was how do you get that discipline? But I think that commitment that you make to yourself, that I'm going to write this down, I'm going to physically write it myself, I'm going to review it every day, and I'm going to figure out what I can do today to make progress towards that 90-day plan. So many people don't do that. They don't write it down. First and foremost, so many people don't make a plan. They don't know where they want to go. They are Alice going, doesn't really matter which way I go. They're like the little feather in Forrest Gump, where they're just floating around, and what will be, will be. Those that do make goals don't write them down. Those that do write them down don't review them, and those that don't review or do review them don't actually do the daily disciplined action towards them. And it is that you said, I live my life by my 90-day plan. Well, here's my 90-day plan. It's within reach of me all day, every day. It's there. It's front of mind. Next to that is my annual plan. In front of that is my weekly plan, and to my left here is my daily plan. That's what I'm doing today. And I live my life by that process. I think for the listeners out there, it's finding your process. It's finding what works for you. Making that commitment to yourself. What are you going to achieve? I mentioned earlier, Nathan, you are probably the most ambitious 1%er that we have. I think I've got in my mind when you first joined, a couple of months after you joined, I think I reached out to you and said, is everything okay? You've gone a bit quiet. I haven't seen you on a few calls. You don't post in the Facebook group or anything. Are you all right? And you just replied to me and went, yeah, absolutely fine. Jason's 10xing my business. Now, 10x is not a term you hear from a lot of 1%ers. But again, you've already got what a lot of 1%ers would class as a big business. But again, all of that is mindset. I know I made the mistake on the coaching call with Simon Hallett from Plymouth Argyle. I made the mistake of calling Plymouth Argyle a large business. And he said, oh, no, 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 no. He said, even Chelsea are a small cap business when you look at actually, the kind of firms that we deal with. When you're dealing with trillion-dollar companies, he said, even the biggest football club in the world is a small business in the grand scheme of things. And it's that idea of what you focus on.
Can I just interrupt you there, John? Because that's a really, really interesting thing. I have been doing some investments, and I have bought some shares in a software company. And I went to their AGM last week. It's actually the largest company in Cyprus. And I bought a load of shares last year with them. And I was invited to their AGM, which is at the Hilton Hotel in Cyprus. I happened to be in Cyprus at the time. So I went with a friend of mine who's been advising me on investments. Anyway, they turn over 1.2 billion euros. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's the biggest company I've ever been involved in. And to go to their AGM, it's amazing. Like you were just saying, I thought my business was quite large. It has quite a large turnover. It's very interesting when you go to theirs and they spend on accounting fees for like what our turnover is and that sort of thing. But it was very interesting. Spent a couple of hours there, and it was a sort of cocktail party, food and whatever. But it was very interesting speaking to the CEO and whatever. And sometimes it's very good to expose yourself in much larger industries or companies than yourself. And going back to your 10x, where you started from was the 10x principle. Now, I'm a huge fan of 10x, which comes from Grant Cardone. I went to his one of his yearly, I don't know what they call it, 10x shows, which is at the Miami Dolphins stadium. I used to live in Miami before COVID. And so I went down the road to one of his events, had 70,000 people. I mean, it's similar to your event, which unfortunately I couldn't come and join. But it had fireworks, it had, gold Rolls Royces and, rappers and everything.
Very similar so far.
Very similar, I've heard. But it was incredible to see what was possible. And I'm very much for seeing that exposure, because it takes you out of that limited mindset. And with my business, people do go, crikey, you've got, the size of the business and whatever. To me, exactly as you're saying, no, it's small compared to the others. But I want to just touch on the 10X, because that's been a huge influence on me, as well as the 1% Club. But just dwelling on a 10X, people misunderstand the 10X. They think it's all about 10Xing the turnover of your business, or ultimately the profit. That's what they think. They say, my business is turning over 1 million. I'm making 10% and make 100 grand, happy with that. And 10X means I've got to make a 10 million business. No, it's not that. 10X to me, I used 10X is easier than 2X. I don't know if you've heard that expression. 10X is about 10Xing the things you do well in your own personality set in your business. It's about 80-20 principle. It's about finding the top 20% of what you spend in the office that's the most productive. We all spend 8, 10 hours, 12 hours a day in the office. But let's be honest, probably only 1 or 2 hours of those were productive. The others were dealing with reactionary firefighting, whatever else. Finding quality time when you're working on strategy. Before this call, this morning I came in and I'm only working on our 5-year business strategy. I don't check any emails. I don't do anything. I try to find a quality time. That's worth it to me. This afternoon, after this call, it's going to be a bit of firefighting, dealing with a couple of contracts, a couple of difficult owners, something like that. But people, you need to look at where you're productive, where your time is truly making money, which is only 20% of what you're doing now. And you 10X that, which means you take away the 80%, which is spinning your wheels, focusing on answering emails when you shouldn't be wasting time. And 10xing the 20% that you're doing now, I'm focusing on that. That leaps your business ahead. That's why people just think 10x is 10 timesing what you do now. If you do that, you're 10xing your business on a shaky foundation.
Mm.
That's where people go wrong, and that's why people get afraid of this 10x, thinking it's just, oh, I'm going to be like Grant Cardone. I'm going to just go massive, close my eyes, hope it works, and of course, it's not going to. They're not working on the 10x foundation to get the foundation right. Then naturally, I think there's an expression from Peter Drucker or something like that. Focus on yourself and how you work, and your business will take care of itself.
Mm.
It'll automatically scale up. People try to scale up and then go, oh, I need to work on my management skills. I need to work on something else. That's where they fail.
Mm. Yeah, I think it was it Dan Sullivan who had the book 2x is easier than 10x.
Dan Sullivan, Benjamin Hardy also wrote it.
Yeah, that's it. In terms of, again, seeing what's possible, reminder of that story. I can't think who it is now, but it was one of the Silicon Valley firms, and they went to a meeting with Yahoo about an acquisition, and Yahoo were dismissive of them and just said, oh, no, your turnover, you're just a rounding error in our accounts. And of course, they then eclipsed Yahoo in terms of market cap. And it's just, again, believing what's possible. When I first kind of, again, the Google kicking back in 2012 and decided to really double down on the marketing for our business, what I believed was possible was about 20% growth. And what actually happened was we 10x the business, which I didn't believe was possible until it happened. And I think it's something we see again and again. One of the things I mentioned earlier, you play the long game. We had the privilege of staying in one of your villas in Cyprus back at Easter with the family, and by sheer coincidence, you were in town at that time. So we said, "Hey, let's meet up," and it was so eye-opening to see you in action, because I was there with the family. So Jack, my eldest, he's 14 this summer. And he's very interested in personal development. He's very interested in success. He's very interested in being rich. I'll be honest with you. He's interested in making lots of money. And how can I be successful? So every time we come across someone who is successful, who is smashing it in life, I like to kind of point out why and signpost the behaviors and the principles that are there. And I did a lot of that while we were in town with you. And I said, look, one of the things that really shone out there was you playing the long game, because you really looked after us while we were there, and you introduced us to the guy who owned the restaurant, and the guy who owned the car hire company, and the guy who owned the Jeep Safari, and you knew everyone, and everyone knew you, and you looked after everyone. And there was nobody that you wouldn't do something for. And I just said to Jack, like, Nathan's investing in the future here. I said, Nathan's really looked after us today, hasn't he? He's really looked after us on this holiday. Yeah, of course he has. I said, so of all of our 1%ers, who would I be more likely to go a bit above and beyond for in 3 years' time if Nathan needs a bit of help? I said, I'm there. Absolutely. I said, because he's investing in the future. I said, he's not doing it for that reason. He's just a people person. You are absolutely, I think, was it Adam Grant, Givers versus Takers, or was it Give? And what the book's called now. Adam Grant is definitely the book, but you are absolutely a giver. And you just give to everybody. And I'm sure you receive back in the same vein. But again, the fun you have running that business really came across. And just saying to Jack, oh yeah, he's in this country today, and oh yeah, he's off doing that now. Oh yeah, there he is climbing a mountain. And what we haven't mentioned about the climbing the mountain is what happens when you get to the peak of the mountain. Do you want to tell us what your little routine is when you get to the summit?
Yeah, that's interesting. That one. I read a book called is it Hof? Something Hof, I think it is. The Ice
Wim Hof.
Man. Wim Hof, that's the one. And I do like this crazy thing of when I'm climbing a mountain, it's minus 20 degrees and it's bitter. I was up on a mountain on the Greek border in about February time, and there were some Greeks that have come the other side, and they meet. And the moment I do take most of my clothes off. Not all of them, but most of my clothes off. And if there's any streams on the way back, I like to jump into these sort of ice streams. I don't know. It's a strange thing. I like to do that. And it's absolutely bitter, but you're on such a high. You know, you can take your jacket off even though it's minus 30, and you don't feel it. It's a celebration. I think interesting. I'm going to just go off on a slight tangent here. The interesting thing about climbing a mountain is if you imagine an icon of a mountain, it goes, we can't really draw it like this because it goes funny, but a mountain goes up the side like that, has a little dip, and then goes up again. Oh, it went backwards on my screen, but you know in your mind, think of Mont Blanc, and a black and white, icon of it. And it has something called the Valley of Death. And it's that little bit that comes down. And it's really interesting how when you climb a mountain, it's a huge challenge. It could be a 2 or 3 day challenge. And you start, and it's really easy. You start in the valley, and it's really easy. And then you've got the tent, and you've got your flowers, and you've got all the meadows and whatever, and it's great. And that's like starting a business. The first bit's really easy, and it's all flowery and lovely. And then you start going up the mountain, and it's all right because you've got loads of energy. And you carry on, and then you get up to the next point, and you think you've made it, and then it gets hard. And then you drop down into that valley of death. And it's goes into there, and trying to get out of that valley back to that last little bit. It's only 20% of the mountain. Most people suffer there. And I found that in business, in nearly everything in life. You've got to look out for that valley of death. So the reason I like climbing mountains is because I'm always saying to my climbing buddy, Hassan, come on, buddy, where is the valley of death? So we can look out for it before we go. And even in the office now, they know the analogy from that. And I say, guys, you're going to do X, Y, Z, or whatever the project, mini project that we're working on with them. I say, guys, first of all, where's the valley of death going to be? What part of this project we're doing? Because it will start easy. We'll all start with motivation. It's going to be great. And 80% of the way through, there's going to be a challenge. Let's try and work out what they are now and have a rough plan as to what we're going to do when we hit them. But let's look out for them. Yeah. Then it's not a surprise, is it? You're on the hike or you're on the business plan and you're doing it. And they say, boss, this has happened. Oh, we've reached the valley of death. And it's no longer a disappointment. It's like almost a celebration that we've hit that point. And then we go, right, now it's all mental. And when you're mountain climbing, it's cold and you're all tired and you've been hiking 10 hours or whatever it is. And you then got to just do that last little bit. It's absolute killer. But it's when you know it's coming, you predicted it, you can just laugh about it. I said, Hassan, go on, buddy, the valley of death. Now we've got to really dig in. So it's funny how, and I think, John, you mentioned this to me before, how you can cross over from different industries or different aspects. I apply mountain climbing to business and vice versa. It's very interesting. Preparation is everything in mountain climbing. If you go unprepared, if you haven't checked the weather report, if you don't take the right gear, then you can really get in trouble on a mountain. And the same with business.
I love it. One of the things I really love when we have our conversations is that for everything is about balance, and your plans just reflect that balance. It's not about all business. Lots of the 1% I have conversation with, their goals and stuff are all business related. It's about moving their business forward, blah 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 blah. But you have your health, and that is paramount to you. And I know John follows that same ethos. It's actually the one of the biggest change you can make to your business is actually living longer, etc. And you embody that, and so health is always really important. You've got your family in there as well as one of your crutches, if you like, to propping up that plan. The balance that you show in there, and you've got your goals as well for the business, which are ambitious, and they are very stretchable goals. But yeah, I just love the balance. Do you think that? So my question was going to be was do you think that freedom to have those other balancing the health, the family, those personal goals, it comes from having the success in the business, or do you think have they always been part of your makeup? Because you've been in business for 20 years, we've seen you for the last 2 or so. So yeah, just wondering where that kind of stemmed from, really.
Yeah, interesting. When I started the business, I was running a restaurant, and if anyone's worked in restaurants or had anything to do with restaurants, you know what it's like. It's 7 days a week. And I actually started the travel business while running the restaurant, which was in Greece. And without a lie, it was a 4 a.m. start for me, get to the office, work till 12, midday, get to the restaurant in time for lunch and evening dinner, and I'd get to bed usually 10 o'clock at night. I actually lived at the restaurant. It was on the beach. It wasn't too bad, but even so, I'd get to bed at 10, absolutely exhausted, ready to wake up at 4. I did that for the first couple of years, ended up in hospital like you do. People used to say, oh, amazing, you lived on the beach. It's in Agni. It's probably one of the most idyllic beaches in Greece. You must go swimming every morning or whatever. I said, swimming? I haven't been swimming in about 3 years. Now, starting any business is hard. And what I found was when I started, of course, I was on my own and I had a lot of hats. And one of them was, I was learning all the time, but I had a lot of hats to keep putting on. And then I took my first employee and then my 3 employees. By the end of the first year, I was on to 3 employees. Once I got the business going, once it got to about, I suppose, 15 employees, and it was successful, it became much easier. I know a lot of people say, oh, as the business gets bigger, I find the more people I have, the easier. But that's because I manage them. And I always say to myself, you're the conductor. You have an orchestra. And to the team, I often give this analogy. I say, guys, you're my orchestra. And I have to wave my little fingers around like this, but you're doing the work. But together we'll make the amazing symphony. But I always remember, I only can do this all day and focus on that. So as the company became bigger, I've got about 21 staff, I think, in this office. We have a UK office as well. And we have a couple of smaller offices. So I manage those, but as it's become bigger, I can travel less. I can do that. But the temptation's always to be doing the low value tasks and get distracted, which is again why I have to focus on my 90-day planner, why I have to be looking at my 80-20, constantly tuning what I do and how I get it accomplished. On the bit about balance, one thing you touched on health, and that's hugely important to me. And on my gratitude, I do gratitude journaling every morning. And my first one is health. And some people are not, it's obviously private, my journal, but if anyone was to read it, they would see health first, then they would see family, then they would see business wealth. And some people might question that, say, well, that's strange. Shouldn't your family be first? I have two daughters. Shouldn't your wife and 2 daughters be? I say no, because without my health, I'm not going to be there for them. So for me, health is the most important. And as we discussed earlier, alcohol, that was a massive change for me. Running a restaurant and running a travel business where you're doing 100 flights a year, it's very easy to get sucked into the social side of traveling. John, you've seen me in restaurants and knowing so many people, they're always sending drinks over. The night we had a meal, I don't think we paid for any drinks. You're always being bought. So it's very easy to get caught up in that way, but it's a huge danger. The best thing I ever did was give up alcohol. It's a lot easier than I thought it would be, being an alcoholic, but that's really helped. So, but back to balance, I firmly believe in the 4 a.m. start. Now, I've done this since the restaurant days, so I've done this for 20 odd years. It's easy for me. I know a lot of people aren't. They say they're not morning people, but it works for me. I wake up every day at 4 a.m., 7 days a week without fail. Yes, I go to bed early. So when I said I'd take John out for a meal, I said, okay, that means we're going out 5:30, but he didn't mind. But I do go to bed early. But 4 a.m. start works for me because I can work from 4 a.m. first on my prayers, meditation, which is what I do first thing. Then I do my journaling. Then I do my reading. I do at least 2 hours of reading every morning. I do health books, personal development books, business books, that sort of thing. At least minimum 2 hours a day. Then I run to the office. So I don't have a car. And I believe in bicycles and walking and running. So I come into the office, get here for sort of 7:30, 8 o'clock. So that part gives me my time. Family tend not to wake up until after I've left home, so I don't see. But as you know, my family also come to the office, and I have my daughter here earlier. So the morning part is for me. Then I have my third. So that's my third. Then I have the office third. I work until 4 o'clock. I do not do a minute past 4 p.m. I leave at 4. And I do not have a computer. I have a computer at home. I never work from home. So by forcing myself to finish at 4 and never working a minute past, that means that I make sure I do everything I need in the day. And I've found over the years that it's very easy to use the excuse. I used to, like everyone, when I was starting the business, I used to work till, when I finished the restaurant, was doing the business full time, I'd work 10 o'clock at night and say, sorry, darling, I'm working late, I'm finished. But if you say to yourself, I have to leave at 4 o'clock, it forces you to work on the right stuff and to bin the rest. And I know a lot of people say, it's just not possible. It is possible. You just need to cut out the 80%, which isn't doing you as much benefit, and focus on that 20% that is giving you the 80%. So that, for me, is the way that I balance my life, making sure that work doesn't become the whole life.
Definitely. You talk about high value tasks, 80-20 principle, mentioned many, many times. I want to talk about weekly emails, because that's something that we've preached on this podcast for a good number of years. It's been probably the 20% activity that's brought in 80% of our revenue over the last 20 years, has been sending a weekly email that doesn't sell anything. We preach about it again and again. We've launched our weekly email now. So this is a weekly email from us, or actually from Luke, who works for us, who doesn't sell anything. For listeners to the podcast who want to get that, you can do so at weeklyemails.co.uk. Just pop your email address in there. We will send you a weekly email. And guess what? We won't try and flog you anything in that. Now, Luke rather, has been writing weekly emails for you for a couple of months now, Nathan. And I get CC'd into those emails. And every time I get one of those emails, I have a smile on my face, because I'm also on mailing lists for the likes of James Villas and Villa Plus and Booking.com. And I like my holidays, and I like villa holidays, and I like apartment holidays. So I get these emails, and what everyone else does is maybe once a month, they send me a brochure, and they just say, here's a villa in Greece. Here's a villa in Cyprus. Here's a villa in Lanzarote. Book a holiday with us. And what I get from you via Luke is, here's where the seagulls stole my drone. And I had this week's one, which was, the marketing guys have been on at me to actually, mention some of our villas in these emails. Well, okay. but I'm going to put my spin on it. I've personally stayed in all of these villas. This one here, my kids grew up in, and I dug out the pool. We don't get those personal stories from James at James Villas. I've never heard James say, I slept in that bed. I dug out that pool. I stayed there in January. It was freezing, but I still swam in the pool.
Those emails have been brilliant. As you know, I reached out to you about our email marketing, and 6 months or so ago, and I've got through 10 email marketers over the years. We're quite a large base of about 100,000 subscribers, and Luke has been brilliant. And without a doubt, the only one that we've ever considered saying we're staying with this guy. Previously, as you said, it was the same spam sort of email that everyone gets, and it was just, this is what we do, this is what we sell, and that's it. And these new ones are fun, and the response from the clients are brilliant. The open rate's fantastic. Get zero spam ones, and as you say, you should see some of the letters we get. They're letters, they're not emails. Letters from people saying, "Oh, I walked past that villa that your daughter grew up in," and things like that. And I've always wondered, how to rent it or whatever. And it's fantastic. And I write back to every single person that responds, and it's brilliant. It's really works. People love it. It really has worked.
And it's one of those marketing cliches that people buy from people. But if people buy from people, why don't us business owners put more people into our marketing, more of ourselves, more personality into it? We just do that bog standard. Well, everyone else does it this way, so we'll do it this way. What you've done there is actually tell stories and engage with your prospects in a way that just really starts a conversation. And it isn't necessarily a conversation that says you need to book a villa today, but it will be, hey, let's chat about your next holiday next year, or here's a little trick to get a VIP upgrade at the airport. And it's just that let's talk about travel, holidays, and experiences in a way that you would talk naturally to your friends about their holidays. You wouldn't say, "Oh, I've got a brochure for you." This is so many square foot and it's got air conditioning. Lovely. But let me tell you first and foremost about the fantastic tapas at the little place around the corner. Let me tell you how close you are to the beach and what it's like to wake up to the sound of the waves every morning. That's what people want to talk about.
But I've been in the business 20 years, and yet you opened my eyes with Luke as to how to do it. And one thing I've noticed more recently is probably since I joined the club, I obviously read your first book and joined the club, and I've now realized the value of mentors. And as a group, it works really well. And although I can't often make the Zoom calls, because I'm in bed and on my time zone, I miss all the evening ones. And otherwise, I'm on a flight. So genuinely, I miss quite a few of the calls. But I appreciate being part of the group because it's a diverse group. But having mentors is so important. That has really accelerated my decisions I've made. I have one that helps with the business. I have a personal one, life planner. I only meet with him every 3 months, but I go through my 90-day planner with him, and I have the business one, which I meet Zoom call with him once a month. Go through my business plan, and you guys. I mean, I bounce ideas off Jason and just say, "Hey, crazy idea, but what do you think?" And that has made a big difference. It's a small difference, but it's like turning a tanker, isn't it? If you're going off slightly the wrong way, you only need a small adjustment. And the last 2-3 years, I've brought the right people into the business that I work with. I've had the right mentors, and everything is now in a line. And so the business has taken off. Even with COVID, the business has taken off. Can't put enough emphasis on having experienced mentors, people who have a different perspective, who can advise you. Jason, our calls are 15 minutes, something like that. And yet it's amazing how you can just bounce one idea off him. He never gets two. too upset when I give him a crazy idea, but it's just a different perspective. Even as crazy as last week, I was asking about note-taking software, and he said, "Oh, have you tried Notion?" Notion, never heard of it. Oh, I'm sure it's a waste of time. I love it, and yet I'm in the IT business. I've been a programmer all my life. It's amazing how you can speak to other people. There's a huge value in spending just 15 minutes with someone else who can advise you. You can't believe the little nuggets you'll gain from that. Otherwise, you're just working. And just a 15-minute call can change your business direction and your productivity.
Oh, it's really lovely to hear that, because I think the very first call that we had, you was kind of, yeah, I'm not like your other 1%ers. Yeah, I've got a multi-million-pound business. Yeah, you're probably not going to be able to help me with anything else like that. So it's really nice after a couple of years to be able to hear those nice comments, really, that actually, yeah, 15 minutes a week or a month or however often we can space. Yep. It's just really nice to hear that, to be fair. So Nathan, I always ask the last question. I know we've heard an awful lot about lifestyle and ambition and business, but it's a question we ask everybody. So this is the Ambitious Lifestyle Business Podcast. What does an ambitious lifestyle business mean to you?
I like to be different. I very much, if what the crowd are doing, I tend to avoid and do opposite. I think that's pretty clear with my lifestyle, 4 a.m. start, Everest, and everything else. So my lifestyle is in balance, but I like to do different things. So my business works differently. So that means that every business decision I make, although there are, obviously I listen to everyone, I'm always looking for an alternative way to do it, alternative way to crack the nut. And it goes back to my 10x philosophy. The 10x way is extreme, but it makes you, instead of doing incremental growth, when you do a 10x, a dramatic, ambitious business lifestyle, you can't do it incremental. You can't do it like everyone else. You need to have something different. So if you have a business that turns over 10 million and you want to make 100 million, you can't carry on how you're doing now, how everyone else is doing it. You've got to think of totally different strategies. So I think my philosophy there on my ambition side, and for my next, how many years have I got, John? 70, next 70 years. I will continue doing, I like to do things that are totally different to everyone else. That's my that's my thoughts. That's what guides me.
Fantastic. And that is why I think you are definitely the most ambitious lifestyle business owner we know. But again, you're ambitious not just for your business, but you're ambitious for your lifestyle as well. Your lifestyle is ambitious by design, I would say. So thank you ever so much for joining us. Thank you to the listeners for joining us once again for another exciting episode of the AOB podcast. We will see you next month for our summer podcast. I promised that last month, but I got my months wrong. Not often I get things wrong, is it?
You need a 3-month planner, John.
I know. If only I had a framework that would work for that,
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much, Nathan. Take care, and we'll see you on the next podcast.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
So there we are, another episode in the can. How was it for you? Please let us know. However you listen to these podcasts, please leave a review on that platform. Let us know what we can do better, what you like, what you don't like, and how we can improve to make this show even better for you. We'll see you next time.